Awesome. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Development Activities meeting for the Greater Hill District for Monday, September 16th, 2024. Our registered community organizations for this meeting are the Hill District Consensus Group, Hill Community Development Corporation, the Hill District Collaborative, and Uptown Partners. What is a registered community organization? They are community organizations that can apply to obtain a formal status as a registered community organization within the cities. RCO play a formal role in helping channel community input about development projects within their geographic area within the city. Becoming an RCO requires meeting certain criteria related to organizational standards, transparency, communication, etc. There is a biennial application/renewal process with city planning. So what is a development activities meeting, or a DAM, pardon the acronym? At a DAM, a developer presents their proposal and the community asks questions and gives comments. It is one part of the development process for projects that meet specified thresholds before they go to a public board or commission hearing. So as you can see by this small infographic, the development activities meeting comes before the 30 days for a public comment period where the community can provide written and/or verbal testimony to the board or commission. So apologies, during that 30-day period, it provides you with time to evaluate the actual project itself and provide written comment. We will provide you with information on how to do that a little later. Us as DCP also provides that development activities meeting staff report to you as a community, as well as to the board or commission. And then it actually goes to public hearing with the board or commission. So these are the requirements that actually meet the threshold for a development activities meeting. Again, this will be provided to your registered community organization, and it's available on the development activities meeting website. So for the zoning board of adjustment, you can go to, you can provide additional comment to your registered community organization, one of your registered community organization, all of your registered community organizations, or you can visit https // pittsburghpa.gov/DCP/virtual-ZBA. To provide public comment, you can email testimony to zoningboard@pittsburghpa.gov. For email testimony, it must be received at least the day before by 12 p.m. or you can send a letter to 100 Ross Street, 2nd floor, Pittsburgh, PA 15219. Or you can join the virtual meeting and raise your hand to request to speak. If you join by phone, press *9, or you can join in person at the City County building. Please confirm the location via the meeting agenda, which is provided online. And this one's not going to put any commission. So on the agenda today, we have a 4-story residential addition to an existing building, 304 Jumonville Street. The applicant is Danielle Maritzer. Pardon me if I said that incorrectly. The developer is Restrise Capital. Additionally, we will have a presentation from the Department of City Planning about the pilot process for reuse, reinvestment, and revitalization in Pittsburgh's Hill District. It's also called a stabilization project. So there are multiple RCOs applicable to reviewing tonight's project. When there are 2 or more RCOs convening a development activities meeting, pardon me, the RCO guideline denotes that the Department of City Planning hosts the DAM meeting in coordination with the RCOs. Prior to the introduction of the project and the additional presentation, we would like to offer each RCO a chance to speak about their work and about any engagement they have had on the project. So I will turn this over to the Hill District Consensus Group.
Thank you, Osei. You are able to go to the next slide.
Sure.
So the Hill District Consensus Group, we consider ourselves the community table. We are a membership-based community organization, and our beginnings equipped us to become the Hill District Strategic Planning Table over 30 years ago. So it's also important to note that several Hill District community representatives and residents created our table to help protect residents from displacement, build solidarity, and to focus on development plans according to the Hill District cultural legacy and their perspective. Next slide, please. So our mission is to create effective pathways for intergenerational residents to overcome economic, social, and housing disparities. Next slide.
Is it Reggie?
Sorry about that, guys. So our process is to do a general concept review with the board and staff. And again, this phase centers on defining the conceptual and schematic form of the project. And then we also have an expedited review process for projects conducted by Hill residents or Hill-based organizations aligned with the master plan goals. And next slide. And this is an example of our rubric, which is what we use to assess the project. Next slide. And again, our phase 2 is to do a design community impact review, which we would then conduct a community public meeting. Next slide. And unfortunately, this is an older slide. As far as the project that's being presented, I know that Ms. Carroll, who is our executive director, has met with the developer, and we are in support of the project. Thank you.
Thanks, Brett. So for the Hill District Collaborative, we have Bonnie. Dr. Young, sorry about that.
I can be Bonnie here. That's for my academic role, not for this one. Yes, so this is the Hill District Collaborative. Next slide, please. So we're also a community RCO organization, started in 2022. Next slide, please. Our focus is on making sure that the community has development projects that are conducive to the needs of people in the neighborhood, particularly residents, landowner, business owners, and nonprofits. Next slide, please. And these are just some of our foci, making sure that there's mixed income, housing development, affordable home ownership, clean economical energy projects, and a connection between African-American business owners and real estate developers. Next slide, please. So we basically have the same review process as the Hill District Consensus Group. We have collaborated together on that particular process. Next slide, please.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Review.
and so in regard to this particular project, I was tapped at the last minute to come in, and as far as I am aware, we have not engaged around this particular project. I'm not sure exactly why that is, whether or not the developers actually reached out and didn't get a response, or whether or not there was no outreach. So the developers can speak to that. As we understand the project, we have no opposition.
Thank you, Dr. Young. And passing this over to Uptown Partners, Michaela or Dr. McDonald-Pierce.
Hi, yes, I'm Michaela Scheckler. I did just join the Uptown Partners pretty recently as the Real Estate and Development Vista through the AmeriCorps. So if you want to go to the next slide. So yeah, this is just our team, and you can go ahead and go to the next one. So for our mission, we tend to be focusing on residents, institutions, and business owners, making sure people are working together to build a vibrant and sustainable and just community for everyone. We accomplish this through our Uptown Eco Innovation District Plan, which is the EID. You go ahead and go to the next one. So the Uptown Red Committee originally approved the initial construction of 304 Jumonville on January 30th of 2020. And the board approved that as well. And then between the years of 2020 and 2024, we have consistently worked with Westrise to court potential tenants for the property. Then in May of this year, Westrise Capital came to us and proposed a residential addition in front of the Red Committee and a commercial redesign of the vacant launch pad. And that included 60 to 80% AMI. And then the Uptown Partners and Red Committee supported this, as well as the board and motion to support this. And then Westrise is designing the structure to fit the needs of the incoming occupants that will be coming in. We all think that it's a great opportunity for residents of Uptown and a great addition to the community as well. So Uptown Partners has and will continue to support this development through the residential addition. So we are very much in support of this. Next slide. And then this is just my contact information if anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Michaela. Now we'll pass this over to Dylan Brown with the Hill CDC.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dylan Brown. I'm the Policy and Planning Associate with the Hill CDC. Next slide, Osei. So the Hill CDC is a place-based organization that's focused on the revitalization and redevelopment of the historic Hill District. Our legacy is where our motto is where cultural legacy meets future innovation. We're very proud to say that we're celebrating 38 years of operation in the Hill District. And we've had a lot of accomplishments along the way, and we're excited to hear about this project, and I'll share a little bit more about our engagement in the near future. So just a quick overview of the Hill CDC. Our mission is to work in partnership with residents, stakeholders of the Hill District, the Greater Hill District, to create, promote, and implement strategies that connect people, place, and policy with compelling community development opportunities for the Greater Hill District. Next slide. So as I mentioned, we have three distinct focus areas. Those are people, place, and policy. Next slide, please. So to break those down a little bit more, the place focus is mostly on the real estate development priorities for the Greater Hill District. We do have a master plan for the entire neighborhood, which was completed in 2011 and is ongoing a current update so that it can be adopted by the City of Pittsburgh. We drive all of our development decisions in its alignment with the Greater Hill District Master Plan. The economic development programs are really focused on the people of the Hill District, whether that's business and entrepreneurship programs, like our Small Business Development Center that we partner with all of the major universities in the city on, our home ownership preparation. We have an Operation Home program that we run with the Urban League of Pittsburgh, and we have a Hill District 100 list, which is over 100 people, well over 100 people who are currently interested in purchasing homes in the Hill District, and we help prepare them to apply for mortgages and qualify for loans from banks. We also have arts and culture. Like I mentioned, our motto is where cultural legacy meets future innovation, and so we do try and honor in everything that we do the historic legacy of African Americans in the Hill District. Our policy and planning team is where I spend most of my time, and so that's on the promotion of equitable development throughout the neighborhood and the neighborhood planning process. And so I work as the staff member for the DRP, which I'll talk about shortly. Next slide. So DRP stands for the Development Review Panel. The DRP is the District's unified community review process. It has been long-standing in our neighborhood and has been tried and true for a very long time. We've had a lot of projects come through this process, and we've seen numerous victories for the community, whether that's in relation to specifics of this of a certain project, the level of affordability in it. We really try to raise the voices of residents in all of the work that we do, and the DRP is the way that we do that. And the DRP is a two-step process. I'll talk a little bit more about the details of that, but basically we have a panel of residents, and then once a development project receives a score that's satisfactory, to then go to the community of residents. We take those two scores, the one from the panel and the one from the community by large, and we combine those into a full cumulative score, which is our representation of community input into a given project. Next slide, please. So the DRP started a little over 10 years ago. It was a partnership with many community organizations in the Hill District to streamline development on behalf of the residents. So we had multiple organizations come together and agree that we can all work together to voice the concerns and the needs of the community. And it was designed and adopted by the Hill CDC after extensive negotiations on how the process should work, how organizations should be added or removed, and as well as how much of a percentage a project should score to be considered satisfactory. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, the DRP is over 10 years old. We're really proud of that. The organizations that are on this slide are the current members of the DRP. Each of these organizations gets to appoint a resident of the Hill District to serve on the panel. And the panel is made up of 9 people that review a project initially to see if it's in alignment sufficiently with the Greater Hill District Master Plan. So as of today, there are 7 organizations, which you can see here. Next slide, please. So we've actually reviewed over 60 projects in those 10 years, which is a really awesome achievement, and it says a lot about the future of our neighborhood. If you are interested in looking at any of the projects that the DRP has reviewed, you can go to our website at hilldistrict.org/DRP. We really do strive to be as transparent as possible with our review process because it is so important that residents are engaged on the projects that are coming into their neighborhood. And this is our way of making sure that residents have an actual voice in the redevelopment of their community. Next slide, please. So this is a deeper dive into the process. So the first step is a focused deep dive review by the committee of residents. It's important to note that Hill CDC as an organization appoints residents to the DRP. We in no way have a vote or a position of influence over the process. We merely facilitate it. Projects submit to the Hill District website. I forward all of the application materials onto our panel of residents, and we convene monthly to review new submissions and decide if they should come to present. I collect the feedback of the DRP members. And so that is the first step, is the deep review by the committee. After a project receives a score of 80% or more at the committee level, then the development project is presented to the wider community. And a lot of developers may complain that that's too high of a standard, but we really try our absolute darn best to make sure that the vast majority of residents in our community benefit from a project and are represented in the project. And so at the community meetings, which we just had a little bit over a week ago, we have lots of residents turn out, and we pass out ballots to people who are residents of the Hill District, and each resident gets a voice on a project. And that's really important. We're really proud of that work. Next slide, please. So, like I said earlier, the cumulative score, which is the combination of the committee score and the community score has to be 80% or more in order for a project to get a letter of support from the Hill CDC. Next slide. And if a project gets a score at any stage that's less than 80%, we really want to emphasize to anyone watching or the developers tonight that that does not mean the process ends. Instead, the process continues by working with the Hill CDC and the DRP members to review the project, see where their concerns mainly lied, and try our best to come to a solution that satisfies both interests. And we always say that the DRP is never a barrier to development, but rather a bridge. And the focus of any meeting with the DRP is to get a project aligned with the vision that the residents of the community established for the Greater Hill District, which is our Greater Hill District Master Plan. And if a project occurs in the Lower Hill, the Community Collaboration and Implementation Plan, which is the negotiated community benefits agreement for the Lower Hill, also factors into the scoring of a project. Next slide, please. And unfortunately, we've had a handful of projects that either didn't come to fruition or decided to pursue their development without community support, and those projects abandon the DRP process. Unfortunately, this happens from time to time, and this is the only time when the Hill CDC will publicly advocate for the improvement of a plan on behalf of the Hill District. It's really important that the DRP is a panel of residents. It is not Hill CDC staff. So only when a project abandons the community's unified review process is when the Hill CDC will step in and say that this is not a project that has community support. Next slide, please. And so that brings us tonight to the developers in Uptown. As of today, the project has not completed the DRP process. So the Hill CDC is not issuing a letter of support or a letter of non-support. When the development activity meeting was announced, I reached out to the developers to inform them of our process, and I'm very happy to say that they submitted on Thursday, September 12th. This project is now live on our website, so if you do go to hilldistrict.org/DRP, you can see all of the documents that they submitted, and the proposal itself. And I've communicated to the developers that their project will be reviewed internally by the DRP committee in October. We hope to see them present in November. And if they do reach that 80% threshold on the first scorecard from the panel, we anticipate having them present at our community meeting either in November or Q1 of 2025. And I'll just say this one more time, that as an RCO for the Hill District, we will only endorse projects that have completed the Hill District's development review panel. Any developer can look into this process or reach out to me by going to hilldistrict.org/DRP. Thank you, Ose, and I look forward to the presentation tonight.
Thank you. So thank you to all the registered community organizations for their presentation, and we are going to pass it over to our developer so that they can present, and I will stop sharing my screen and pass it over to Danielle.
Hi, everyone. Can you see our screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So this project is Uptown
Not yet.
Flats. You can't see my screen.
Oh, you can see it. I can see it now.
You can see it? Perfect.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Danielle Meritzer. I'm from Piper O'Brien Hair Architects. I'm the project architect and designer for the project. George, would you like to speak on behalf of West Rise?
Thanks, Danielle, and thanks to all the RCOs and OSA for getting this organized. George Mongel from West Rise Capital. We've been fortunate to work with many of you already on this call over the last several years, and we're excited to walk you through an adjustment to the overall project that we think will have a great benefit overall to the community. So we're going to get started just by talking briefly about the building, some of the history, some of the RCOs have already talked about it, but it has been a project that we've been working on for the last several years. COVID and several other things have had its impacts as this project has been developed. But what we are seeking in this project is an extension. In the foreground, you can sort of see the second story of the building with the curtain wall glass that faces the Boulevard of the Allies. And we would be adding a 3-story addition on top of that portion of the building. And then we're looking to expand for one of our tenants, a commercial tenant in the space, the little brown section to the right. And we have more slides that will be forthcoming, an expansion for a rooftop space that they will be occupying. Next slide, please. This is the historical overview of the project in and of itself. Some of this was already mentioned, not looking to sort of spend too much time on it. But we did go through the community process when we acquired the building to make sure that things were improved and compliant with both Eco-Innovation District, as well as several of the other city requirements for an initial core and shell. That also included parking, landscaping, ADA requirements for parking, ADA entranceway, which didn't exist. And several other component features. Next slide, please. With respect to in Uptown with the Eco-Innovation District, these are several of the factors that go into the Eco-Innovation District, all of which we have complied with on sort of what I would call phase 1 of the project. Going forward, obviously, if there are any improvements or enhancements, we will be doing that, but there are no exterior sort of enhancements looked at. All of the sidewalks are brand new and installed. The landscaping, everything meets or exceeds what was otherwise required in phase 1 of the project. Next slide, please. And in terms of the expansion, our RCO contacts have happened since May, June of this year. I know that Dr. McDonald, first and foremost, has been such a champion for announcements that we will be making in the coming weeks on the 2 commercial tenants. So please stay tuned for that. But it will be a major enhancement to the greater community. These are the other sort of RCOs that we've already talked about and have had different meetings with, different emails going out to and some other correspondence. So we do appreciate the continued engagement and we look forward to the continued engagement. And we welcome any all questions, not only during this presentation, but as we connect in the coming months. Next slide, please. We've already talked about sort of the Eco-Innovation District. This slide just reflects some of the improvements visually. This not only has the outside decorative screening that was done by a local company, as well as the streetscape and landscaping, but the parking area was completely redone. We took it down 2 feet and reconfigured the parking lot. All of the curtain wall that you see, all the glazing is all brand new. None of that existed, including the new 8-foot expansion for the ADA entry to the front portion of the building. Next slide, please. So now transitioning to what I would call phase 2 of the project, which is part of the discussion tonight. We will have 2 commercial tenants on the first floor of the space. The first one will be occupying about 16,000 square feet, which includes the rooftop. And the second tenant will be including 8,000 square feet, which is what we're calling space B of that particular project. Third, on the addition, we are bringing in a multi-family piece that will be adding on to the top of the building itself. We are excited to commit to a minimum of 80%, or excuse me, 10% of the units as affordable units. And we are still working through that process, but a minimum will be between 60 and 80% of the AMI. We will have more to announce from there, but the minimum 10% will be happening on this project. And then the anticipated overall project is about $17 million through our various funding sources. Next slide, please. In terms of bonus height, we would be looking at 1 or 2 particular points because we will be on the addition up to the 70 feet that's permitted by right under the zoning code, provided that we have accumulated certain points. And we are looking at 2 particular points, one for affordable housing, which might also achieve both points, and the other one is obviously on the building reuse. I don't need to go through all the different points, but we are excited to keep a majority of the existing building intact. It's from the late 50s, early 60s, and you'll see more enhancements as we come throughout the project. This gives you an elevation. Danielle, would you want to talk about a little bit about the design and the elevation?
Yeah, so we're looking at using various materials such as, we're going to keep the existing white brick, as you can see on the base, and adding some wood look fiber cement panels, some metal panels, and some darker storefront to add some interest. As you can see, as the rooftop amenity space, there's a gabled roof and expanses of glass to make a nice outdoor space for the cafe. The next slide. This view is of the Tustin Street elevation. This is where we're going to be accessing the apartments. So their main access point is off of Tustin Street, and we've added some fiber cement panels and metal paneling here just to coordinate with the aesthetics that are around the building. In addition, we have some nice dark storefront and some additional parking on the side here, and the existing white brick at the base and on the second story corner that you're seeing. This is just another view showing just the undulations. We're adding a lot of different textures with the materials used, as well as the street trees and some landscape plantings to make a more lush appeal to the exterior. And this is just more a close-up of that exterior cafe space. This cafe space is probably about, I think, 4,000 or so exterior space, with about 3,000 interior space for the cafe. You can see it's stepped back a little bit from the apartments just to give the apartment balconies some breathing room. Just a closer view of that area. See, we're using various materials, the same type of metal panels, large expanses of glass, and exposed structure. This floor plate shows the 2 tenants that George was discussing earlier, as well as some interior parking spaces. We're allocating about 33 interior spaces, which will also include some interior bicycle rack parking. Towards the front, you'll see, well, towards the back by the parking, there's an apartment lobby. This is where you'll be accessing that. And towards the southern portion is where the existing loading dock and the common area George was discussing earlier. This is just showing the floor plate of the residential units. We have a mix of junior 1 bedrooms, 1 bedrooms, 1 bedroom with den, and 2 bedrooms. The ratio is about 4% 2 bedrooms, 58% 1 bedrooms, and then the 1 bedroom with den and the junior 1 bedrooms are about 19%. Hey, George, did you want to talk about the parking and loading?
Sure, thanks, Danielle. So we're going to have 2 different loading areas first and foremost, one of which, as Danielle showed, is it's an existing dual loading area in the front, and then we will have an interior loading area off of Tustin that will service both for the tenants when they're moving in and out, as well as an additional loading area for a commercial tenant as needed. Parking wise, we currently have 23 spaces in the front parking lot, 2 of which are ADA, 1 is van accessible. We have 33 spaces projected inside the building. That may fluctuate by your space or two, which will also have an interior ADA space or otherwise as required by code, including 10 spaces in the rear of the building off of Tustin. And we have a residual lot at Forbes and Jumonville that's been used for overflow parking as needed, and we anticipate using that as well for additional parking as needed, subject to obviously requirements by the city and the project itself. Another exciting feature of the project is perhaps fortuitously the new BRT or the university line, as they're calling it, which is the new rapid transit line. The station stop is at Forbes and Jumonville. That's going to be particularly exciting for transitioning throughout this or traversing throughout the city, as well as the announcements that will be forthcoming on the commercial tenants. But this map just shows you where those station stops happen to be and are currently planned as the city is working through that construction process. And we will continue to monitor the construction schedule as this continues to progress to completion. Next slide. The anticipated construction schedule for the first floor tenants is between 6 to 8 months. And the multifamily structure, since we're adding 3 stories onto the existing second floor or mezzanine floor, the contractor has confirmed that this is the approximate time period. Permitting aside, we're very confident in this schedule and hope to meet or exceed the construction schedule expectations. Next slide, please. From a construction management plan, we will have obviously various people on site to do the day-to-day monitoring from an on-site superintendent, as well as all through safety mechanisms to make sure that anybody that's both walking outside the area or visiting the site is safe and secure, including various monitoring and software to make sure that the construction maintains its schedule and other compliance requirements. Next slide, please. We are targeting a variety of different personnel for the project, which we're excited about. This is our projections between MBE, WBE, VOSB. These are projections. There will be definitely for certain portions of the project a public bid process. Our contractor will be handling that portion of the public bidding, but we look forward to a very competitive process, including components that will be prevailing wage for certain aspects of the project that have been in the works. So stay tuned for more announcements on that, but these are what the project is targeting. And then we're happy to welcome any questions, comments, but thank you for your time this evening. I say we'll turn it back to you if there are no questions or comments.
All right, yeah, I was checking the attendee list. There are currently no raised hands. If you do have we have Flanor, and I apologize if I'm saying your name incorrectly. You have the ability to talk.
Well, hi, this is John Flanor.
Okay.
I'm a resident. I live just around the corner from the property, and I'm sorry I missed the beginning of it. I'm in Maine. I don't know if you can even hear me. I'm out of town. The picture that's currently on the screen, just to double check, that's the Jumonville elevation of the site, or is that, what direction am I looking at that photograph from?
John, this is George. That's from the Boulevard of the Allies.
Oh, that's from the Boulevard. Okay, that's from the Boulevard of the Allies. So there's like a garage, because I didn't see the beginning. There's a garage with some
Correct.
kind of
On the
school.
corner.
So yeah, so is that going to be subsumed into the project?
No, that is not our property.
Oh, okay. So I wasn't sure where that is and would be in the photograph.
Sort of, it would be down to the right where the Danielle is.
Oh, I see. Okay, okay. I got you. Now I understand now. That was a question. And did you mention who the tenants were? The commercial tenants?
That will be publicly announced soon, and Dr. McDonald and I will be making that, but she's worked really hard on some exciting things for the neighborhood.
Okay.
And, we're excited to have that done soon. We were hopeful to make it before this meeting, but a few more things are being worked out. But stay tuned for that announcement.
Okay. And the parking that you were talking about is the parking in the front and the back of the building, plus the lot that currently has construction stuff on it across the Forbes. Is that right?
All of that is correct, plus interior parking.
Oh, there's interior part. Okay. How much
Yes.
of that was there? I'm sorry, I didn't hear
It's
this.
about 33 spaces plus or minus. We're working through a few final design efficiency layouts.
Okay.
It could be 30, it could be 33, but we're in that 30-ish number. We're just not 100%, pick the exact amount based on some more diagrams.
Okay. All right. So those are just some questions I had. I'd like to know more about it, but we're, positive, and very excited about the project in its general conception. So thank you.
Our pleasure.
All right, James Simon, you have the ability to speak. James Simon, you can unmute whenever you're ready.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was not unmuted. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay, I will be one of the closest neighbors, as I have a 3-story building. And you guys will be right behind me. As I saw this proposal with Uptown Partners, and I just wanted to say again that we're very excited with this development, and as a close neighbor, I completely support your design and what you're doing. From what the development used to be, what the site used to be, to what you've already done is very impressive. Seems to be very high quality, and we welcome you to the neighborhood. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
All right, Helen's iPhone.
Hi there, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, hi, my name is Helen Perilou. I'm a nearby resident about a block away from this project, and I want to reiterate what the other people said, that I'm excited as well for the property to get redeveloped with some commercial tenants as well as the residential component. That's been a dead space for quite a number of years now, being a commercial laundry before this, and then pretty much vacant for quite a while. So I'm happy that there will be a commercial component as well as the residential component to bring more people to the neighborhood, and that you're including an affordable component to it as well. So yeah, I just want to convey my support and excitement about this building getting adaptively reused. So yeah, thanks. Look forward to hearing more.
Thank you for your comment, Helen. Jean McNutt. Jean, you have the ability to unmute now.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks to George and his team for this exciting project. Yeah, Ellen's right. This building has been sitting for far too long since the laundry closed. I'm excited about the vitality that it will bring to this community, I'm sure. A couple of questions about the parking lot on Forbes and Jumonville, which is actually right behind my building at Jumonville and 5th. What kind of plans do you have, George, to enhance it with maybe landscaping, better lighting? How will it be open 24/7? What's your vision for that lot?
Thanks, Gene. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm also in Maine. I'm also in Maine, like John.
Must be a common theme.
Yeah.
So in terms of continuity, we have the screening that we put in front of Jumonville that was shown in an earlier slide. So we want to maintain that from a streetscape perspective. It was well done by an artist outside of the greater Pittsburgh area, but still relatively close to the city. So our intent is to have the proper screening. We will be having all the proper lighting in the parking area. Right now, that will be resurfaced as well. The existing lot in use needs to happen. We are looking at a potential gated access only for the current commercial tenants. That's still being discussed, but that is yet to be confirmed. But that option, all the tenants and I are working through a prospective plan there, and we will have some additional updates. But it'll be a very similar look and feel to the existing Jumonville lot that we completely redid over the last 12 to 18, or last 18 months, excuse me. So that way it looks great for the neighborhood.
Great, thanks. Also, I had a question about lighting of the building, which I can't see from your rendering. What is your vision for that?
Well, just to make sure, I mean, we currently have all new LED lighting all around the existing building. The boulevard side would be installed, as part of the project. We are not anticipating any new additional lighting on the exterior of the building, except for signage for the Tustin Street entrance for the multifamily component, as well as tenant approved signage as permitted by the City of Pittsburgh zoning code. If additional lighting is needed, but we're not planning on uplighting the building, we do believe in sustainability. This project will be designed to meet LEED Gold certification. But from that perspective, nothing else is planned for any uplighting at this point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any questions from the panelists?
I have a question about the cafe. Is that open to anyone, public, or who is that for mostly?
That will be open to the public. The hours and operations will defer that to the tenant that will be overseeing that space. But we are excited that will be open to the public.
Great.
And the views are spectacular.
I know.
Okay, so I will pass this over to Carol.
Hi, I don't have a question. I just want to compliment you on the project, and great job to Dr. Brittany. It's refreshing to see preservation versus something just being destroyed and tore down. So thank you for nice presentation and adding on to make Uptown better.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
All right, it seems at this point we don't have any additional questions or comments for the developer. So we are going to close out the development activities meeting portion of this meeting. Doubled down there. But we do still have a presentation from so thank you to Danielle and George for your time this evening. We do still, however,